Now that we're done talking about the various He-Man series, let's have a look at some fun trivia from the franchise. Here are some He-Man facts. He-Man's catchphrase, "I have the power," actually originates from a time before the character was created. In 1980, the first prototypes of the He-Man line were presented to the president of Mattel. He-Man was originally going to be a generic action hero who could appear in either a fantasy or a futuristic environment. Although the character would still be developed much further, the president at the time, Ray Wagner, was so impressed with the prototypes that he declared out loud, "Those have the power," and the rest is history. It's impossible to think of He-Man without his sword, but back in the pre-filmation days of the toy line, He-Man's weapon of choice was actually an axe. The Power Sword was a far more novel item, which He-Man only acquired later, and originally Skeletor held one half of the sword. One very notable character change was made to Man-at-Arms before he appeared on the Filmation show, and that was to give him a mustache to make him look old enough to be Teela's father. The original non-mustachioed version of Man-at-Arms has been depicted in consequent He-Man media as the younger version of the character. And did you know that in French-speaking territories, He-Man is actually called Musclor? He-Man was also such a huge cultural icon that both DC and Marvel published comics based on the character. Many people are puzzled by the visual similarities of Prince Adam and He-Man on the Filmation cartoon. Originally, Filmation was planning to make He-Man's alter ego much more physically different, but by making the characters look practically the same, they could save more money by using both characters' animation cells to trace new ones. In the original series Bible for the Filmation cartoon, Orko was called Gorpo, but it was changed because one of the show's writers insisted that words with a K in them sound funnier. Orko's original name was referenced in the episode The Creatures from the Tar Swamp, where Lady Edwina calls him Gorpo by mistake.
There, Gorpo, oh, Borko, oh, aren't you a magician or something?
The introduction to the Filmation cartoon show went through some changes before the final version was decided upon. One noted change was that originally Battle Cat would chime in on He-Man's catchphrase by saying, "I have the power too." This idea was dropped at the last minute, although you can still clearly see Battle Cat mouth the words "I have the power too" during the transformation sequence. It's never been fully clear what the franchise title, Masters of the Universe, refers to, although both the live-action movie and the 2002 series give alternate explanations. The Filmation show never commented on the fact, but an abandoned version of He-Man's opening speech actually refers to Skeletor's lackeys as the evil Masters of the Universe. This experimental version was also accidentally printed into some of the He-Man VHS releases, although it's very obscure. John Irwin, the voice of He-Man and Adam on the Filmation show, didn't think he sounded heroic enough for the role of He-Man. In order to boost his confidence, He-Man was given a reverb to his voice whenever he talked. The executive producer of He-Man and Filmation's co-founder, Lou Scheimer, was also an experienced voice actor, and some of the characters he voiced on the show included Orko, Stratos, Triclops, Trapjaw, and King Randor. However, Scheimer didn't want to be recognized for his voice work, which is why he chose to be credited under the pseudonym of Eric Gunden. Dolph Lundgren was the first actor cast for Cannon Films' 1987 live-action He-Man movie, but the studio ran into trouble finding someone to play his arch-nemesis. After several actors turned down the role, Frank Langella took the part because his children were huge He-Man fans. Despite having to don uncomfortable makeup through the whole shoot, he said he enjoyed playing the role. In addition, he was the very last actor cast for the film. Courtney Cox, who played Julie in the Masters of the Universe movie, would of course go on to achieve huge success in the role of Monica Geller on the sitcom Friends. Interestingly, Christina Pickles, who played the sorceress in the film, ended up playing her mother on the show. In the credits for the Masters of the Universe movie, you may have noticed a part identified as Pig Boy, played by Richard Sponder. Sponder was the winner of a competition to appear in the He-Man movie. Unfortunately, the movie was well over halfway into production when his victory was announced, putting director Gary Goddard in a tough spot. Eventually, Sponder was given this minor role as Skeletor's minute minion, holding his staff when he returns from Earth with the captured He-Man. And finally, as I mentioned in the series review, Shuki Levi and Haim Saban were the only Filmation crew to return for the production of the New Adventures of He-Man. But did you know that two notable actors from the voice cast of New Adventures later went on to play voice roles in the 2002 remake of the original Filmation show? Gary Chalk, who voiced He-Man in New Adventures, voiced Man-at-Arms in the 2002 series.
Come and get it, Skeletor! Put some muscle into it!
Scott McNeil, a notable Canadian voice actor in his own right, played the roles of Flipshot and one of the Primus scientists, as well as other odd parts in New Adventures. In the 2002 series, he voiced Beastman, Ramman, Clawful, Stratos, and Merman. And that's all from me for now. Next time, get ready for a remake of my top 10 He-Man episodes list. Until then, I have the power, so can you.